Hi folks! Welcome to this third part of our Fireworks Festival knit-along. In this video I'm going to show you how to do the brioche lace, and we're going to talk about the fireworks and the border. And then I'm going to give you some tips on how to block the shawl. So this is our last video for the knit-along, and don't be sad about that because it means that you're close to finish your shawl. So you're going to wear it very soon. And first of all, I'd like to congratulate with you, because if you've reached this point, it means that you have mastered the brioche knitting and the syncopation, so you have to be very proud of yourself. Now, before we start, I'm just going to answer a question from Jessie. Hi Jessie, thanks for your question. So Jessie saw a lady which was brioching in two colors with a straight needle. So I'd like to mention that you can brioche on a straight needle, but this is called brioche in one pass. And the stitches will look a little bit different from this, so I'm not gonna cover this in this video because it's gonna be confusing for you. But it's of course a nice technique to learn, because you're going to save a lot of time doing brioche, because for each row you're going to use two colors at the same time, not one color first and the second color after that. So it's going to save you a lot of time, but you have to learn the technique because it's going to be a little bit different from this. And then you have to consider that you cannot switch from one to the next to the other. So if you started with this shawl with the traditional techniques, so one pass with the dark color and one pass with the light color, then you have to continue the shawl with this technique for now. So maybe you can do another one next time trying the one pass technique. So that's that's everything for now. Let's dive deep into the brioche lace and let's see how the fireworks are made. We've already learned about the two stitches increase in brioche, the bark yarn over bark. I'm going to demonstrate now how to increase by 4 stitches this time, and this increase is called brioche 4 stitches increase. But it's also called a bark yarn over bark, which is exactly what you're going to do to increase. So you're going into the next stitch, which is a stitch which you will brioche knit or brioche pull. In this case I'm just going to brioche knit it. So I'm going to brioche knit without dropping the loops from the left hand needle. I'm going to yarn over, brioche knit again into the stitch, and this is the same that we made before, but this time instead of dropping the stitch we're going to yarn over once again and brioche knit once again. And that's our stitch. As you can see, you have 5 stitches coming out from one single stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you just increase by 4 stitches. I'm going to demonstrate now with the English style. So you're going into the next stitch and you're going to brioche knit, yarn over, brioche knit, yarn over, and once again brioche knit. And that's your increase. 5 stitches coming out of one single stitch. Just a little reminder for you, when you are on the wrong side of your work, so on the light side in this case of the work, and you're working with the dark color, remember that you have to brioche knit your increase here. So your stitches here, the increase stitches you made on the right side of the work with the light color, on the wrong side you have to knit them with the dark color and pull them with the light color. So here I'm working with the light color now. Here I have knit all the stitches, brioche knit, you see brioche knit. So I'm coming to the stitches where I have increased on the right side of the work here, which I already worked with the dark color, so I already knit them in the dark color. Now instead of brioche knitting here, I'm going to slip the marker and I'm going to brioche pull these stitches. I'm gonna tell you why in a minute. So I'm gonna brioche pull the stitches here in the middle of our markers, and then after the markers I'm going to brioche knit again. So this is why you will see on the right side the light color popping out, because you have all knits on this side of the work. This is how syncopation works. We're ready to look at decreases now. So in brioche knitting you're always decreasing using 3 stitches, which means that you're going to decrease by 2 stitches. So you have 3 stitches on your needle, you're going to decrease by 2, which means you're going to end up with 1 stitch only on your needle. So in this case, for example, here I have these 3 stitches here, 1, 2 and 3. I'm going to decrease 2 stitches and leave only 1 stitch. Now brioche decreases, of course, as normal decreases in knitting, as a direction. So they're going to slant on the right or on the left. So please follow the pattern to know exactly where you have to decrease and which kind of decrease you have to use. So don't look at this, because this is just for demonstration. But now I'm going to show you how to make the left slanted decrease, which means that your decrease will slant to the left, so on this side. So this side here, you're going to have the decrease on this side. Okay, so to do a left slanted decrease in brioche, you're going to slip the first stitch. You see on the left needle you have a stitch ready to be brioche knit or brioche pull. In this case it's brioche knit because we are on the right side. So we're going to slip this first stitch knitwise, which means we're going to slip it like that. And remember, when you slip the stitch you have always to take both strands of yarn on your needle, okay? So slip the first stitch knitwise like that, and then these last 2 stitches you have here a stitch which you would normally slip with the yarn over, and this one you would normally brioche knit. So these 2 stitches we're going to knit together, brioche knit them together, okay? So that means you're going to come into the first and into that stitch at the same time. So you're going to have 3 loops here, 1, 2, 3 loops, okay? First stitch, second stitch, don't forget your loops, and just brioche knit them together like that. Okay, at this point you need to pass the first stitch here over. So you're going to insert the tip of your needle into the stitch you just passed, and remember you have to take both loops on your needle and you just pass it over the stitch you just brioche knit. And this is your left slanted decrease. As you can see here, I hope you can see that your stitch slant to the left side. Now I'm going to demonstrate that in English style knitting. Let me just undo the stitch and I will show you how to do it in English style. Let me fill it up again. Alright, so this is twisted, okay. It's not twisted, okay. And this of course is twisted. Okay. So this is my starting point, okay? For English style knitter, you just do the same. So you're going to slip the first stitch knitwise, slip the stitch, and then you're going to knit these 2 stitches together. So you go into the 3 loops, 1, 2, 3 loops, and knit a stitch like so. You see? And now you're going to pass this stitch here, the first one, over. And that's your left slanted brioche decrease. We're now going to look at the right slanted decrease, which is made of course on over 3 stitches as before. So we're going to start with this first stitch here, which is going to be a stitch with its yarn over. Okay, we're going to slip the stitch knitwise. Slip the stitch knitwise. Now we're going to work on the second stitch. This stitch here, the second one, we're going to knit normally. So we're going to knit the second stitch. Then we're going to pass the first stitch over the stitch we just knit. So we're going to pass it over the stitch we just knit like that. Now we're going to transfer the stitch on the left hand needle again, and we're going to pass over this second stitch here. So we're going to pass over the stitch we just knit. And the last thing we do, slip the stitch on the right hand needle again. And this is your right slanted decrease. You can see the stitch is leaning to the right. I'm gonna demonstrate that in the English style knitting. So the next stitch is a slip on yarn over. Now we're ready to decrease once again. So what we do is we're going to slip the first stitch knitwise. Now we're going to knit the second stitch. Okay. Now we're going to pass the first stitch here over the stitch we just knit. Pass it over. That's the stitch we just knit here. We're going to pass the stitch over the left hand needle again. And then we're going to pass the third stitch over, like so, and then transfer the stitch back onto the needle. And that's your right slanted decrease. You've now finished your project. It's important that you block the shawl. To block the shawl, you're going to give the shawl its shape, its definite shape. So you want to block the top of the shawl flat and the border. Okay. To block the shawl, you just have to soak into lukewarm water with a little bit of soap, and then you have to squeeze out the water from the shawl and roll it into a towel, lay it flat to dry, and then take care of the pins. So with this nice cast on here with the yarn overs, you have these large stitches here, so it's easy to run a blocking wire into the border, the top border, so you're sure that the top is going to lay flat. If you don't have a blocking wire, you can use pins. Of course, you need a lot of pins for this because it's very big. You can also use a strand of yarn and pin the strand of yarn, the long strand of yarn, from one point to the last point. So it's just to make a ruler, and then you can place the pins along, so you're sure you're blocking the shawl in a straight line. Okay, so I want to mention that it's normal to have a little bump at the top. It's absolutely normal. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong, so don't worry. It's fine, and you will see once you wear it, it's going to drape very nicely on your shoulder. So don't worry about the little bump here. It's normal. Okay. About the border, I just want to mention that I pin the border very aggressively, as you can see here. Now this shawl has been worn many times, so maybe it's better if I block it again. But if you see that I have these points here which I blocked very aggressively outward like this. So you can put a pin like this here, and a pin here, and then a pin here. Okay, so you're gonna have your points, but you can decide how do you want your border to look like. So it's not compulsory, of course, to block it like I did. So you can have fun with your shape. So this is everything you need to learn to know about this show, this Fireworks Festival, and I hope these videos were useful for you and that you really enjoyed making the show. And please share your pictures, because I'm really curious to see what you've done. And yeah, wear your piece with pride, because you've been really good coming to this point. So congratulations for your finished project, and enjoy your shawl. Bye, see you for the next knit along.